Hi, friends. I'm Dana Lewison, therapist and founder of the Empowerment Collective.
And I'm Dr. Roshni Patel. I'm a board certified OBGYN and the founder of Luminate Gynecology. And today we are talking with Callie Exas, owner of Callie Exas Nutrition and Wellness. She's refreshingly unapologetic and brings her own unique voice into the nutrition world.
That's right. She's vibrant and not afraid to challenge how we think about food. And she's here to help us dive deeper into the world of nutrition, metabolism, and hopefully tell us about how much protein we actually really need to be eating. Callie, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited. Let's burn it down.
Yeah.
Can you just start off by telling us a little bit about your journey and why you created your business?
Sure. So I started out in advertising in New York after college, and I worked in advertising for 5 years. I absolutely hated it. I was totally burnt out. It was not great for me mentally, emotionally. And at that point, I was like, I got to do something. So I decided to go back to school for my master's of public health in nutrition. And while I was in school, I was getting by as a personal trainer at Equinox. And that's another level of burnout, but different. And then I loved all of the nutrition plus the one-on-one side of personal training work. So I decided then to go back for another clinical master's in um, clinical nutrition. And finally, after many, many moons in school, I became a dietitian. And so since becoming a dietitian, I really have worked mainly with women specifically on the systems rather than eat this, don't
Right.
eat that. It's really the systems, the how we are eating and what we're taught in our mindset and our relationship with our bodies that influence our metabolic health, our hormone health, how we are able to show up in our lives. So I like to come at it from a bigger picture perspective rather than a um, eat this, not
Mhm.
that. Here's a 30-day program per situation, which is never helpful, really.
No.
Yeah.
Or it works until it doesn't work because
Right.
it's not a thing.
It's not
Right.
sustainable.
Or it's
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
right. Super restrictive or right. Not sustainable, as you just said.
Yeah. I think I got here because I didn't get here because I had a great relationship with my body or food growing up, certainly. I did all the diets, right? Like the 90s diets, and it just led to more and more disconnect and less autonomy
Mhm.
and more overwhelm. And so that also influenced my practice too.
That's great.
Awesome.
You said that you went back. First of all, you had so much schooling. Oh my goodness.
I know.
Wow.
Stupid.
You must enjoy writing papers.
Ah.
But you mentioned going back and becoming a dietitian. There
Mhm.
are a lot of dietitians out there. There's also nutritionists. So, can you tell our listeners a little about the difference between the two and what made you choose your route?
Yeah. Well, so really anyone can call themselves a nutritionist.
Right.
And it doesn't matter the level of education that they have. They can go and be a nutritionist with a 6-month course, or they can call themselves a nutritionist because they are interested in nutrition. Versus the registered dietitian licensure, it's a licensure, and we have to keep up with ongoing education, CEUs, and we're held to a higher standard or level of policy expectation for care. So that's like the biggest one. But I would say that's probably the main difference. We're held to a higher standard of care and level of education.
Got it. That's
Great.
super helpful because I think no secret, right? There's so much noise, right, in the world, in life, in our social circles, especially social media. And
Hmm.
women, especially, are just bombarded with, eat this, eat that, quick 90-day fix, 30-day fix, 2-day fix. Like, what?
Yeah,
Without, addressing, to your point, the systems. What's actually
right.
going on? What's sustainable for your life? So, just in your scope of practice or your experience working with different women, what are some of the, I guess, nutritional myths or pitfalls that you encounter often? I'm sure our listeners have heard some of the same things. I'm sure you do your fair share of redirecting and
Yes,
re-education.
for sure. I mean, it's a lot of mindset. I think a lot of people look inward and blame themselves or their lack of willpower when really they're probably undernourished or underfed or underslept or burnt out. I also, my gosh, I spent a lot of time today talking about seed oils,
Mm,
and how it's not the seed oil, sweetie. Well,
yep.
that anything basically that Mark Hyman says, I am out there just doing the Lord's work and addressing in a different way. But you have a lot of health influencers that will make soundbite statements
Mhm.
to create fear
Yep.
around food when or cherry pick data or cherry pick studies that support a claim without actually going into the study and looking at how they did the study, how the study was conducted, and nothing acts as a volume in, or a vacuum in real life. So a lot of the studies, even if maybe they are accurate, but
The study environment, it's
it's a
not
study
real yeah,
environment,
yeah.
it's not,
Right.
like, real life, and then the other side of that is, particularly in women's health, is that women are not studied, and a lot
Right.
of the studies are done on men or mice, and how do we like,
Extrapolate.
that extrapolate that for women in particular. So that I have a hard time too, even with the dietary
Yep.
guidelines made that we have even today, or how BMI was made specifically based off white men in the 1800s, not made for women today. They're not made for women in general. So, like, what do we use BMI for when we're talking about insurance policy or health policy, particularly for women?
It's twofold. It's the studies that focus so much on men. And
Yeah,
so we're not going to, I'm not going to eat the way a 25-year-old male is eating when
surely.
he's strength training. Right. And then you're also, I think, if we're talking about influencers, anybody can be an influencer. Right. I
Oh,
could go on there and be
absolutely.
like, I'm a health influencer and here's what you should be eating or here's how you should be doing this and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And so as a dietitian, you're going to be also challenging those sound bites, as you
Yeah.
said, or those
Yeah.
that information and what's real and what's not real.
And what can we throw away? Because it adds to the overwhelm, it adds to hypervigilance when it comes to food. And when we have hypervigilance, we have added stress, and added stress around food is never good for metabolic health or
Mhm.
hormonal health or energy or just like our relationship with ourselves if we're constantly worrying about food.
Yeah.
Right.
It's noise.
Right.
Mhm.
It is. And I have to say, and we're going to link your Instagram account,
Yep.
your socials below, but you do such a great job of, first of all, I love your entire
Mm.
social media presence is
Thank you.
wonderful. But you do such a good job of challenging things and putting it into real life. You're a mother also, and you have two
Yeah.
young kids. And it's like, how does this fall into an actual life for a busy mother, right? That I'm not
Yeah.
spending all day in the gym. I'm not going to be able to make this 3-course perfect meal for myself because I'm
Perfect.
running around chasing children. So there's
Right.
a reality to you and a realness to you
Mhm.
that you present that is extremely helpful.
I even think back of my beginner RD days, my baby RD days when I was working with mom, and some of it now, God, I'm like, "Oh my God, had I known." You don't know until you know as a
Yeah.
mom, right? You're in the fire. You're not thrown in until you're in it, and so even now I'm like, "Well, how would I'm doing the best I can, but for somebody who has no support, they have no bandwidth and they actually don't know how to do this versus someone who does actually
Yeah.
know the ins and out. And I found it, especially in postpartum, when your brain is completely, like, literally smaller, your
Mhm.
gray matter is smaller. I can't imagine how hard it must be. It really takes a long time to come back from that and learn the skill again. So, nutrition and feeding yourself is a skill, it's a learned behavior. Some of it is innate, sure, but it's beaten out of us by the
Yeah.
time we get to where we are in our
Yep.
lives. Pretty much everyone, I think, could use a refresher in being more in tune with how they are feeding themselves.
That's so
Yeah,
great. I love how you
absolutely.
put that because something happens to us as we become adults that we're deconditioned to listening to our bodies. I'm never worried, or I'm not as worried about my kids if they ate enough or ate too little because they are really good at self-regulating. They don't
Mm.
emotionally eat. My
Yeah.
son will literally push his plate away when he's not hungry anymore, and I'm like, "He's
Yeah.
good." His grandmother, either my mom or my mother-in-law, will be like, "Eat more, eat more." I'm like, "No, we're not doing that." Clean plate club, we don't do that anymore. It's not the '80s, but then you have to finish everything off on your plate. There's always no dessert. And what is dessert anyway? All that
Yeah.
training and conditioning. And now I'm like, What is hunger?
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, like, tying it back to body autonomy and how we're actually learning consent and
Mm,
having power in our body. It can start as early as when we were teaching our kids about food, and that's a powerful statement too.
yeah,
Yeah, that's so valid.
I like that.
Mhm.
Because,
That's yeah.
food can be cultural, emotional, celebratory, let's go get coffee. It's a thing that
Yeah, it's a
it's a joy, it's a
sure.
behavior, it's a connection mechanism. But when we lose the signals of like, I need fuel and I need nutrition for
Yeah.
my brain to function properly,
Mhm.
that just kind of gets
Oh,
messy.
carbs.
Yeah.
The low carb situation,
Boy.
I can't even. And like your carbs, man, there are so many stupid people in the world already. Carbs make you smart. They make your brain work. Eat the carbs so you can be smart and lift up for the higher purpose of like whatever is going on.
Yep.
I swear we're all dehydrated and
Yeah.
we're
A
not
little bit
getting enough
carbophobic.
carbs.
Alf-H, right? Like, when
Yep.
that oh my
Atkins,
Keto,
goodness,
Atkins, keto,
right?
all of it. I mean,
keto,
the
paleo.
carnivore diet, it's
Yep.
all just another word for low
Carbs.
carb. And now we have GLP-1s. Interesting discussion, especially in the field that I'm in, because I'm not anti GLP-1.
Mhm.
Okay.
But GLP-1s do suppress
That's how
your
they work. Yeah.
appetite and
Right.
your connection to your hunger and your fullness. GLP-1 in and of itself is a messenger mechanism in the body that is made in the gut that tells the brain to release appetite hormone. And so you can promote or support healthy GLP-1 regulation in the body without taking a GLP-1. What I see too is that it's being used as a mechanism for starvation.
Do you work with a lot of clients that are on that class of medication?
I do work with clients that are on this medication, and for some people it makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And also again, like I counsel
Yeah.
if this is the right medication for you or not.
Yeah.
There are some people where I absolutely I support it. They're doing the work, they have the foundations. Sometimes medication is needed to be able to thrive. Like
Right.
full disclosure, I have AD, I have anxiety on an SSRI. Like, am I going to tell myself that I can just like push through this
Right.
and not take my medication? Nobody wants that.
Right.
So like this, I think it can be the same conversation for a person wanting to take a GLP-1, but when you do it not in conjunction with the foundational things that actually support
Yep.
metabolic health, blood sugar balance, inflammation response, then I have seen that they don't work.
Right.
Wow.
They're not going to work.
Yeah.
So it does require the foundation level stuff and almost like you're not going to get the cues and the signaling. So you have to make
You
it
have to
part of
make
the
yeah.
system and override some of that stuff that's going on when you're in your brain body that's suppressing it.
So separate from GLP-1s, you
Yeah.
talked about foundation, and I just wanna dive into that a little bit. Sleep and stress. This
Mm.
is not rocket science. This is nothing new that we're saying here, right? Sleep and stress are so intertwined with our metabolic health, hormone health, gut health, all the things. How do you counsel patients about these 2 specific areas, especially those women who are doing all the things, running around, careers, kids, life, spouses, like, what's actually useful?
I think that nothing is ever going to be perfect and we
Yeah.
have to live in the gray. And I see a lot out there that spouts, oh, you need perfect sleep in order for this, that, and the other thing. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. I have not slept in my own bed a full night in probably 3 years. So anybody that's telling me that you must sleep this many hours, blah, 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 with a perfect situation in order to be this, that, and the other thing, I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Right.
Mm.
On the other hand, when I counsel people around sleep and it is a shift worker, we're talking shift workers or people, there are things that are controllable,
Yeah.
right? Like you're scrolling at night,
Yeah.
giving yourself a bedtime, the revenge bedtime procrastination situation that's happening because you get no alone time
Right.
is probably backfiring. And then giving yourself a consistent wake up time is also going to be a thing that helps regulate your ability to go to sleep and sleep soundly. If there are other components around, like, okay, are we not getting daylight,
Mhm.
circadian rhythm supporting that, then we can talk about getting up and getting outside during the day to support that circadian rhythm cortisol response. So we're putting bookends and we're putting kind of bumpers or boundaries and practices to support healthy sleep, right? In ways that we can. I can't control if your kid wakes up nightly and crawls into bed to you with you,
Right.
or like you're waking up all the like or have a hard time going to bed because of anxiety, right? But if you are having a hard time going to bed because of anxiety, then maybe we need to start that process earlier and not fall asleep on the couch or read a book instead of scroll
Mm.
or write down your like top 3 things for the next day instead of stress bombing your partner about it. That's my
Right.
husband. I used to have a habit of stress bombing my partner and being like, "Oh, did you think about this and this and this?" Because the end of the night was the only
Only
time
time.
I had to process
Right.
what the fuck happened
Yep.
during my day, right? And so if that's the case, then we need to find other ways or other times
Mhm.
to process what is going on for you. So that's what I do for sleep. And then for stress, it's kind of the same thing. Living a
Right.
life without stress is not possible, nor should it be expected.
Yeah.
We need to be able to respond to stress and our stressors in order to function properly and like feel the highs and lows of life, right? But your resilience to stress matters, and being able to process your stressors matters so that you're not bottling it in or holding it in. Because now we know that holding our rage in causes autoimmune disease. No shit.
Yep.
Right. Right. I mean, you're talking to my world right now very
Mhm.
much, right?
Yeah.
Like getting your mental health in order in
Get the
check.
rage
I mean, it
out,
really
ladies.
sounds,
The
yes,
rage out.
exactly. It
Go
sounds,
box.
it very much sounds like you tailor your work with each client to meet them where
Yeah.
they are and their needs. Someone comes to you, what does that process look like? GLP, no GLP, new mom in perimenopause, mom in
Yeah.
menopause. What is that experience like? What is it like for a client to work with you?
Yes, great question.
It starts with setting the foundation. So, typically speaking, any given client who is a woman coming to me, I go through what a typical day is like for them. And then typically what I see is they're either under eating or they are going too long without eating. So we start with blood sugar balance and blood sugar regulation. I give them typically a schedule, an eating schedule. Like your
Wow.
kids have an eating schedule.
Mhm.
Here's one for you.
Yep.
And it looks a lot like your kids because that really doesn't change. We
Shocking.
should generally be eating every 3 to 4 hours for happy blood sugar balance. And then we go over what a balanced plate can look like. And it's not a menu plan per se or anything. It's really about addition rather than subtraction. So if you're a person that is eating, a bagel with cream cheese on the go in the morning, I'm going to say, okay, how can we add fiber and protein to the situation to give your self more fuel to do what it needs to do, and how can we balance the situation so that we can reduce cravings over a longer period of
Yeah.
time and that fuel actually serves you instead of being in reaction mode or chasing your hunger for the rest of the day. So we're giving you a schedule, we're talking about being proactive, and we're talking about addition rather than subtraction. And then from there, as we go, as we get better and better and better at that, it becomes a little more nuanced in terms of nutrient density. Can we add more nutrients? Can we add more color?
Mhm.
Are there specific nutrients that we really need to focus on
Mm.
for you? If you're postpartum, maybe it's like iron, B vitamins, collagen for replenishment, or your animal proteins for replenishment there too. If you're it, dealing with constipation or perimenopause or anything like you want to lose weight, reconfigure your body composition, we're looking at okay, fiber, we're looking at protein, we're looking at what are your actual needs
Mhm.
from a caloric, fat, and macronutrient perspective, plus fiber, always fiber. So then it's tailored to your specific needs for your specific body goals, whether that's healing, reducing LDL cholesterol, or changing your body, having body goals or body composition.
That's why a 30-day flat fix doesn't work for everybody because yeah,
No.
yeah.
No,
Right.
well, it work again, it could work until it doesn't
Yeah.
work because it's too
Right.
rigid. And that's exactly what we talk about too, is I think a lot of women in perimenopause are dealing with body changes and changes innately. When you're in perimenopause, you are at baseline more insulin resistant
Yes.
because of the impact of estrogen on blood sugar balance and blood sugar regulation in the liver, glycogen. So estrogen influences a lot of metabolic function and blood sugar balance regulation. That being said, when you're in perimenopause, it doesn't mean that it's impossible to lose weight. It just means your needs have changed. They become a little more nuanced, and we have to do things differently where we really
Yes.
hone in and focus on protein and fiber and meal timing and the way you are working out and moving your body. That becomes a lot more important. And in our 40s, generally speaking, most of us have become less active because we're sitting at our desks, our jobs, like we're driving our kids all over the place.
I'm glad you talked about the what you might have been doing before doesn't work for you now. I hear this often enough where patients will say, "Well, I did all the things. I was a runner in college and I'm eating. I haven't changed anything. I work out every day. I haven't changed anything." But I'm like, "But inside, your physiology is different." So, I think that's a pain point. A lot of times patients get, I don't know, some people are willing to accept it. Some patients just aren't
It's
for whatever
frustrating.
reason. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hard, so
Yeah.
frustrating. If you had the, secret answer and it was this magic wand and it worked for you in the past and you're waving it around and you're waving it harder and more drastically and it's still not working,
Yeah.
you're frustrated.
Yeah. I think in some degree too, it's like, what is the expectation of women's bodies?
Mm,
Are we really
mm,
expecting that we're going to look like we're 30 pre-kids when we're 45, 50 after two kids? Maybe
yeah.
for some people that can be realistic, but for most people, I think that that is an unrealistic, unsustainable, and like unfair
Yeah.
expectation, really. So there's that expectation aside. What we did in our early 30s or 20s, yeah, it doesn't. It's not going to work now because your needs and your life and your body is so
Different.
different.
So different.
Yep.
What are small changes people can make while they're working on something bigger? They're done having kids and they're in their, a woman is in her 40s or late 30s and is like, okay, now I'm going to finally take care of myself and, get my
Yeah.
body back or whatever. Like, how do you support them in a way that's like realistic?
I start with mindset.
Okay.
And living in the gray. A lot of us have black and white thinking, and then that turns into, well, diet starts Monday, or fuck it, I've already like eaten the pizza. I might as well just like eat the french fries and the wings or whatever
Mm,
and have 5 glasses of wine. What I will say is definitely the schedule. Look
hmm.
at your schedule. And if you are not consistently eating throughout your day, then you are in a reactive mode.
Okay.
And that is going to influence your snacking, your cravings, and your choices. If you are constantly hungry, you are going to crave carbs and fat. So be proactive. And it's hard to learn how to do that. So it's going to take time and you're going to mess up and it's not going to be perfect. But if you think of it from a mindset of addition rather than subtraction, it becomes a lot easier to see opportunity.
Yes.
And then, there's no world in which I'm going to never tell women to not strength train. You got to be strength training. If you want to enhance your metabolic function and be able to wipe your own butt when you're 80, then we've got to be strength training. Progressive load. I know it's
Yeah.
true.
For a way to
Big
motivate me.
voice.
Yeah.
Right.
There is no world that exists where I don't think women need to be strong as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So progressive load strength training.
I love
And
it.
then the more muscle mass you have too, the more insulin receptors you have. And that is going to influence your blood sugar balance, which is then going to influence your body's ability to use and take up glucose and energy. And it's just going to be more effective and efficient. So get some muscle mass. And you don't get that by doing Pilates or yoga. I know it feels good. You should do it. I'm not going to say don't do it. But if you want change, strength training, and a little bit of cardio, high intensity intervals are probably where it's at. Which coming back to the cardio, everybody's talking about cortisol these days, right? And so there's a big push out there that tells women not to do cardio because it inflames your cortisol response.
Right.
And that is just not true.
Doesn't make any sense. I mean,
It
I tell my
doesn't.
clients, go run, go move. I don't know even where this idea came from, but it makes no sense.
So it's not that. cardio exercise or increasing your heart rate increases the problem isn't the cardio,
Mhm.
right? The problem is when you do cardio, overdo it, are
Yeah.
underfed, underslept, and burnt
Yes.
out.
That's not good
That's
cardio.
when
Yeah.
we get
That's a separate issue,
into a
right?
cortisol issue.
Right.
But if you are well fed, you're relatively well rested, and you're listening to your body, you are going to reap benefits from that cardio that is heart healthy. And also, you are going to be testing or building your stress endurance and resilience. So I think exercise in that way and challenging your body and not being so precious about it can actually serve people and teach you how to get up after you've fallen down metaphorically or
Mhm.
emotionally and
Mhm.
physically. And the gym is one of the best ways to do that in a controlled setting.
Is
So I would say
that
strength train,
Mm.
get moving. But if you're not ready to do cardio at a higher intensity, then start with where you're at and go for a 20-minute walk every single day. And that does not include going up and down your stairs, moving in your home.
okay?
Like, I'm sorry, you're not gonna, that's not it either. You got to go get outside, bundle up if it's cold, but like go for that 20-minute walk or break it up into 2 10-minute walks.
Yeah.
But get outside, get moving because that actually really does flush out your lymphatic system. An 11-minute walk, studies have shown that an 11-minute walk improves blood sugar balance and insulin response.
Yeah.
So if you
Wow.
Especially
don't
if that
have,
walk is after a meal. I'm just gonna throw that
yep,
in there because I tell that to
postprandial,
everybody. Yeah.
a passeggiata,
Yeah.
after dinner walk, go, get
I
out there.
love that. Okay. Strength training, people are moving. Callie,
Yeah.
tell us, how much protein
Mm.
do I need? How much chicken? How much grilled, boring
Oh
chicken
my
do I
gosh.
need
No,
to be
no, I'm
consuming?
anti. Don't do that. Spice it up a little. Have a steak.
Right.
No,
No. How
okay.
much protein? How much do we need to be actually eating? Because
Protein,
the
protein
grifters want to
powder,
sell me all the stuff.
creatine. Like, should I
Yeah.
just like put it in my veins?
Seriously.
That's
Yeah. Okay. So again, it's a range. The recommended daily allowance right now, I think recommends between point 6 and point 0.8 grams per pound per kilogram. This is woefully inadequate. I recommend point 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. But then when I look at it from like a macronutrient and caloric need situation,
mhm.
so we're not just taking it at it because sometimes it can be really high. And I'm like, no, that's not
Yeah.
right. That's not going to
Doesn't
be
make sense.
achievable.
Yeah.
Let's start, let's look at it a little differently. And so then I will take their caloric needs and do 30% of their caloric needs coming from protein. And then we come up with a nice little range. If you're a person that's starting out and is not getting nearly enough protein and you don't even know how you're going to get maybe 100 grams, generally speaking, most people need or start around 100 grams of protein a day. So, but if you're super under that, then I would say, okay, let's make the goal 80 grams. And then we go from, we
See how you
slowly go
feel.
up.
Like,
Yeah. See how you feel. Don't force it, but you're probably going to feel a lot better when you start eating enough high bioavailable protein. And I say high bioavailable protein, I mean animal based sources. This is because they don't have an insulin effect. They support satisfaction and support releasing the satisfaction hormone in our bodies so that we feel fuller and more satisfied faster. And they keep us fuller over a longer period of time so that we're not having cravings or feeling snacky or like, I just ate, but I don't know what I want. And I just want this entire box of, I don't know, french
Girl
fries.
Scout cookies?
Yes, Girl Scout cookies. So I would say start with around 100 grams of protein a day. And that is easy to do. And it doesn't have to feel overwhelming when you look at it from a big picture. It's typically 20 grams in the morning. And you can get that from a couple of eggs plus some soy milk with like some oats, right? That's probably around 20 grams of protein, might be 15. You can add some chia seeds to that for more plant based protein. And then at lunch, maybe you get so a serving size usually of your sad chicken or whatever is
Mm,
typically, or
a
your fun
palm. Yeah.
steak
So sad. Sad chicken.
is typically the size of your palm. So if you look at your palm, you're like, okay, that's 3 ounces. And I know in 3 ounces, and this is what I go over with my clients, but it's around 25 to 28 grams.
Mm.
But if I have 5 ounces, like a whole hand size, like a whole chicken breast, that's going to be closer to 50 grams.
Mm.
Okay. So, okay, now we're pretty close.
Yeah.
We're at 70, right? 70 grams. And that means that we have another 10 to 20 grams for a snack. And maybe it's plant based, maybe it's animal based, maybe it's a little both. And then we have dinner, which can be another 30 grams of protein. And if you do a serving size, 3 ounces, or you do 3 ounces plus maybe some tofu, something along those lines, you're going to be in a good place. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be really super hard and it doesn't have to be perfect either.
Nice.
All right. Wow.
There you go.
It's so much simpler. I feel like they want to, the industry wants to make it harder
Yeah.
or buy this supplement and it'll fix all your
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
So we covered a lot of ground, but now we're going to kind of poke into your personal life a little bit.
I'll put you on the spot.
Yeah. How do you eat or like how do you fuel? Maybe you're the primary parent, maybe you're not. I don't really know, but you're also like responsible for two other people that live in your house. How do you fuel when you like run out of F's to give?
Ugh.
Kids have been misbehaving or sick or school's closed or a snow day, like the 10,000 snow days we've already had, and you have no food in the fridge. What do you do? How do you do it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I definitely try hard to do a breakfast. And that can be anything from like a breakfast salad where I put eggs
Mm.
into like a it's almost like a chef salad, but I have it for breakfast. I do leftovers a lot for breakfast. I do egg tacos. So like
Okay.
beans and egg taco. Sometimes I'll do oatmeal with 2 eggs in it to add more protein. I
Okay.
am focused on the protein because that's the
Okay.
hardest part for me. I know that and I'm focused on the protein and the fiber because it's, you know, once you have like low carb brain, that will always stay with you. And so I have to make an extra effort to be like, okay, what's what's my carb? Where's my fiber? Okay, sourdough toast. Cool, I got it. So I'm starting with breakfast. I usually have a breakfast snack and it's always the same. So I wake up every day at 6 o'clock, sometimes earlier, but I'll have a banana with peanut butter.
Mm.
And then
Mm.
after my kids get to school, I'm having my big Hobbit breakfast. So that's like my breakfast salad or whatever. And then lunch, I'm squeezing in between clients, or if you're my client, you'll kind of see me eating also. And usually that's leftovers, but I thrive on some convenience options for
Yeah.
my meals too. I love a rotisserie chicken. So I'm getting easy convenience proteins that
Yeah.
I know I can throw on a salad bag.
Yeah.
Dinner, I have decided at this point in my life, because I'm often doing dinner on my own with the kids. My husband works in the city. Um, so I don't eat with the kids. And
That's fine.
I'm not eating what they're eating.
Mm.
But again, that is maybe a meal where I have prepped a protein, or I know exactly what protein I'm going to have and I rely on an easy starch so I don't have to wait for water to boil.
Okay.
So I like to get par cooked quinoa. Whole Foods has these par cooked spelt lentil rice
Oh.
situations that
Yep.
they're great.
Yep. I use
And
them too.
the ingredients are great and you can add them to everything. And so I'll usually do something like that with some chicken and some sort of fun sauce. And like, again, I get bags of the stir fry veggies. I'll throw it all together. So that's what I'm doing. I don't know. I don't think it's very complicated. Rely on convenience food
Yeah.
because it's either frozen, it's canned, or it's pre-chopped, no chop. I call it a no chop veggie roast. I'll often do that
Mm.
where I'm picking 3
Mm.
veggies for the week at the grocery store and I'm just like not chopping it, but I'll roast it up and I'll be able to throw that on different things with different things for the week.
It's so
Good
helpful and it's so
hacks.
good to know. And again, that's like you see a lot of these, not influencers or not science backed influencers that show you these crazy meals they're making and who I know no time for
Mm.
that. So just a reminder that simple can
Can work.
serve its
Yeah.
It
purpose and
absolutely can.
yeah, check off all those boxes.
Yeah.
So, along those lines of being busy and having your children and running your business, how do you handle your sick days?
That is a good question.
I mean, we're called no sick days, so
Yeah.
clearly we don't have them, but you.
Yeah, well, my kids are in daycare, so those kids are going to daycare. And it depends on how sick I am, but if I need to reschedule, like at this point, I reschedule.
Yeah.
I will spend some time in my bed. I am lucky I work from home. I can be in bed with my client.
On a screen,
On a
everybody.
screen, on a screen. I work with moms, so moms get it,
Yeah.
That's also I'm fortunate enough for, like, my clients get it.
The ladies know.
Yep.
But it does feel a lot like sometimes no sick days. Moms aren't allowed to have sick days,
No.
but
No.
I mean, the fact that you're in bed, but you also are working just
yeah.
proof of that, right?
Yeah. So or I'm just like, I don't get sick. I'm not sick. I'm fine.
No, you also can't get sick because if you get sick, then you know that your husband gets really, really sick,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So you got to keep that on the DL if
Yeah.
you are sick.
I mean, knock on wood, I haven't been knocked down, drag out, sick. I know,
Yeah.
everybody.
I know.
Like,
I'm
You
like,
can't even say
don't
that out loud.
don't say
Don't
it.
don't put it in the
say
Don't
it.
universe.
say it.
Oh,
Okay, I'm not saying it.
nope.
Yeah.
I'm not
You're not
saying it.
going.
Wash your hands.
Wash
Yes,
your hands.
exactly.
Mhm.
So much. Kelly, it's been so much fun to have you on.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. I have had, so much fun talking to you ladies.
Yeah. You shared, how you work with clients. It's a lot of this is about personalization. There's no quick fixes, but it doesn't need to be hard, right? Like nutrition doesn't need to be this intangible, mystical, protein laden. It's like
Yeah.
variety.
It doesn't need to be so complicated.
Nice.
But we are going to put your information below
Yes.
because for those of us who it still feels complicated or want to know what they can do, something that's tailored specifically to them, that way they can reach out to you and schedule an appointment.
Yeah, and I take insurance.
Thank you so much for coming on, though. I know we
Thank
all are
you.
very busy,
Yeah.
and because there's no sick days and such, we all have to get
Get
back to
back
all the
to it.
things and get back to work.
Keep trucking.
Keep
Exactly.
trucking.
Solidarity.
Yeah.
No, seriously. But again, thanks for being on. And
Thank you.
until next time, because
Yeah.
while we are doing all the things and holding it all together,
There are no sick days.
no sick days. Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Thank you.
No Sick Days is for information and education only. It is not medical or mental health treatment. Listening to this podcast does not create a medical or therapeutic relationship. Please talk to a qualified professional for care that is right for you.